Our relationships matter. The Harvard study of adult development reached the perhaps surprising conclusion that our relationships have as powerful an impact on our health as any physical factor like exercise or cholesterol levels. Dr. Robert Waldinger, the study's director, said, "Loneliness kills. It's as powerful as smoking or alcoholism." I'd like you to take a moment to think about your relationships. Visualize the 5 most important people in your life right now. Maybe your partner, your kids, your parents, friends, or siblings. What would you give up if you had to keep them? If they disappeared from your life today, how long would you grieve? Could I make you whole by providing someone else to fill that role? Of course not. But this is how we often treat children in foster care, as if the important relationships in their lives can be easily replaced with other relationships. Children's relationships matter to them just as much as ours matter to us. Even more so, in that children's developing brain architecture actually depends on the establishment and continuity of crucial relationships. The impact of family and community relationships for a child is central to their identity, their future, and their understanding of why they matter. Dr. Robin Fivish's work on the connection between family stories and adolescent resilience and identity is particularly poignant for children experiencing foster care. An understanding of one's ancestry can be an important part of this. Star, a teenager in Kentucky, is a good example of this. Star finally had a stable, caring foster home, but her parents' challenges left a void where her story should have been. Her social worker used Connect Our Kids tools to locate Star's paternal grandmother. From her, Star was surprised and pleased to learn that she had been named for a great-grandmother who had been so determined to seek a better life for herself and her children that she immigrated from England to the United States as a young woman. Star's foster parents recognized how important it was for her to know her own people and their stories, so they drove her to meet her grandmother and begin building a relationship with her. If knowing their family's stories can help children weather difficult times, then foster children need those stories perhaps more than anyone. Another good example comes from Ohio. Daniel had deeply committed foster parents who wanted to adopt him. But Daniel refused the adoption because he felt he wasn't worth adopting. He considered his parents' failures. Addictions and prison had meant that they hadn't been able to care for him. If his parents were failures, well, he must be one too. Daniel's social worker decided to broaden his view of his family and hoped it might help him shift his story. She used Connect Our Kids tools to get enough information to then use Ancestry.com, and she built out a family tree. When she showed him his tree, filled with lots of regular people, as well as a great-grandfather who had been a well-loved small-town pastor, and a great-grandmother who had been a nurse in World War II, Daniel was stunned. "Wait, what?" he said. "There are good people in my family?" Daniel also got to meet other living relatives, including his grandmother, who he now sees regularly. His social worker told us that he's different now. He stands straighter, smiles more, and he's become open to being adopted by his foster family because he knows better who he is. Research shows that foster children placed with supportive family do better than those who live with strangers. They experience less trauma, have fewer behavioral challenges, and are more likely to graduate from high school. Dr. Jodi Keller-Koenig's work tells us that family stories not only build resilience, but that developing a complete narrative are actually important healing medicine for processing past or perhaps ongoing trauma. Who, what, when, and why did this happen to our family, and what is my role in it? The child wonders. Busy social workers often think that it's better or easier to keep details from a child, when in fact, research shows that the child desperately needs enough information to make some sense of what has happened. With kin, they have this opportunity to build fuller narratives, and through these to process the emotional trauma they are experiencing. If they can't be placed with family, their family relationships and narrative building must still be supported, just like Star's foster parents and Daniel's social worker did. So hundreds of thousands of children's futures depend on social workers' ability to connect them with their people and surround them with community.